Hey, it's a weekend update.
Welcome to the Walking Produce Weekend Update. Thank you for so much. Your host is Joe. I played that intro a little bit too early, but we're gonna move on. All right, so this is a little weird doing this, especially since I quit this project 3 months ago, 3 or 4. I think it was back in May, maybe it was June by the time I quit. But it's been at least 3 months since I quit. So a little bit weird that I'm gonna be the one outroing it and sending it off for the foreseeable future. Maybe it carries on in some fashion. I'm not sure what they have planned for it. But a little bit weird that we're gonna conclude the podcast with me. I kind of understand it since they just wanted to do like each day go. Still a little weird. But as I've been doing this, I realize it's kind of weird. But here I am, last one to go, and talking to you, whoever is possibly listening to this. I have no idea if anyone is, if there's just some kind of weird turmoil wormhole that I'm kind of like projecting. I've recorded this 3 times now, and right now I should be uploading this right now, and yet I just completely just went ahead, listened to it, started editing the second one that I recorded, did it all. I was like, this is good. And then I was like, nope. All right. Finished editing it and just was like, nope, we're gonna go right now, and we're gonna be crazy, and we're gonna re-record this. So that's what I'm doing right now. Being a bit of a manic mess, and then I will try to quickly as possible edit it again and put it together. I can't be as critical as I have been about the last 2, just because I'm on deadline and I'm already failing. Since it's already 9 o'clock. Yep, it's already 9 o'clock. All right, so with those things out of the way, talking about how I'm really failing at uploading this podcast, let's get into it. So yes, something probably most people didn't realize is that I did quit Walking Produce back in June. I don't know who didn't realize, because I don't know who is actually listening to this or looking at our Instagram or whatever. And that doesn't matter. Anyways, yes, I left Walking Produce back in June due to a lot of reasons, but mostly just feeling overwhelmed. And I just felt like this deserves so much more energy than I could offer at the time. And I still think I can't offer that energy, clearly, as I'm falling a mess just to record this one like 20 to 30 minute podcast. But yeah, so that is that. So I left, and it was something I was thinking about a lot before I end up leaving, and it just turned into, I just realized after, during like a meeting, I realized when we were talking about like what we need to do in the future and how to improve it, how to make it work and all these things, I just realized the only way I could see it making it work is me doing so much more. And at the time, and again, still now, I feel really just down. I don't feel productive. I don't feel like I can put that energy into anything at the moment. Certainly not something like this. So yeah, I decided to leave because I felt, for my own sanity, I just felt like I just had to separate myself from this and focus on me. Has it really worked? I don't really know. I mean, certainly a little bit less stressful, yet so I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it really, I don't think I would have been able to succeed in continuing on. It would have been the same low energy that I've been putting in the last like 3 months prior to me leaving. I felt like we only did it, well, maybe not 3 months, because I felt like I was really head into it in the first month. And then after that, I felt like I just felt like I just wasn't putting in the energy that I deserved. Anyways, let's get off of that topic, because that's depressing and that's not what I wanted this to be. All right, let's get into it. So I just want to talk about Walking Produce. I think it was a great project. I think it was really interesting. I've learned quite a lot about me, and I think I've learned a little bit about like working with others and doing different things, how much it actually takes to make a podcast that you feel good about releasing, how much it takes to actually get people together, and how much, like, all these different things, like how I've learned that maybe it is better just to put yourself out there on social media. Have I done it? No. Will I? Maybe. I really should. I really need to look into it. Not look into it. I just need to probably apply myself, which has been a big issue. Like the last, I don't know, while. I just haven't been putting the effort that any of these things actually need if I want to do them correctly. So, yeah. So I've learned quite a lot about it. I don't regret this project at all, even though I was the one to quit. And I know now they're decided to end it for a little bit to focus on other things, which makes sense due to the fact that I felt like this project kind of consumed more time than it really deserved. And not to say like this project was a waste, but like we were putting all of our eggs into this basket of trying to like create this little project of like we're gonna motivate each other with our by doing things, but then it became about like it really just became about the podcast. It became about walking produce rather than like actually what are you doing outside of that. So we it succeeded in a lot of ways, but also failed in some ways, which kind of killed its longevity, I feel like. Though if it was to be redone, I think it could easily work. Just simplifying it would really help it. Yeah. So let's get into it. Some things I want to talk about. Talked about leaving a little bit. Let's get into this. Where's the idea, like where the idea of this came from? Now, everyone might have a different thought of like where this idea came from. This is my story of how I think the idea came from for Walking Produce. And yeah, it came from just a simple conversation of me and Treasa talking about YouTube, and then I was telling her about this one group of YouTubers that were like older school YouTubers that kind of stopped vlogging, stopped like making videos or whatever they did on YouTube. They kind of stopped that, and then so they created this channel for this year, for 2020, that would just focus on like that would just focus on their lives this year, and just be dumb videos that they wanted to upload, and just silly things about their lives, about different things, all different kind of stuff. And they did it in a way like where every couple weeks someone would like every 2 weeks they would upload. And so some people were on 1 week, some people were on another week. So it lightened the load a little bit. Though I feel like I think it still ran into some of the same problems that some people still felt like probably overwhelmed by it. And so I think they did have a little bit of a rotating roster, which makes sense. I mean, it seems like such a great idea. Everyone wants to be a part of it, but then editing videos, editing podcasts, editing photo, like all these different things, actually they do require energy, which especially during this time, I feel like we're kind of like 2020 is low energy year. Like to say like no one's able to go outside, no one's able to do all these different things. It's slightly depressing. And so everyone's a little bit down, and so I understand it. But yeah, so that's where like I felt like part of the idea came from, was this idea of like, why don't people do collab channels anymore on YouTube? Like that's really something that I feel like is missing. And I'm sure there's a million people. There's actually probably like thousands of channels that are collab channels, but I honestly don't know any collab channels, and I just barely watch YouTube. So I'm saying this with complete ignorance. This conversation was just me saying, I remember the good old days when collab channels were really big, and all the people that I really liked when I was like in middle school and high school that I watched, like they did random collabs, and it was really fun. It was awesome. Anyways, so yeah, so then there was that conversation, and then Treasa basically, I think, took that to other people, and she's been working on like accountability, and she really wanted to, I think she really is fascinated with the idea of accountability. Maybe she's not. Maybe I'm putting words in her mouth. But that came from this idea of like, what if we did a collab channel for accountability? Since I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, including myself, and I think including her, and I think kind of the group. I won't speak for everyone, but I think especially me, I struggle with accountability. And so like, let's make a collab channel. Let's make a collab project about that. And then it devolved in, all right, so we're going to do Instagram and YouTube videos every week. Do 3 Instagram posts, we are also gonna run the story, and then you're gonna upload a YouTube video talking about your goal, talking about what you did this week, how your goals went, and then give yourself a new goal in the YouTube video. All great. Now, all great, but as someone who does not use social media, I feel like I'm really proud about myself because I really did, even though now it might seem crazy because it's a brand new Instagram as I drop my phone on the floor. It's a brand new Instagram, and so who's looking at it, who's watching you, all these different things, like there should be no feeling of like, ooh, I don't know about this. I don't know. There shouldn't be any self-doubt, but there still is for me. And that's something I really need to work on still. And I felt like it was really helpful to see that it was almost like I got away with something by posting on thing, which is kind of funny. It's like no one knew, but I posted. I made posts on something. I did something. I was able to post to a story somewhat, but that's like the thing. Like, I'm not the person to go around taking photos. I take a photo, maybe like 5 photos a month on my phone. If they're not like just random screenshots, I'm like, I might need this later, or like an article I'll screenshot, or like some kind of like screenshot for something. I don't take like photos. I don't take photos of myself. I don't take photos of things really. Outside of like traveling, I won't really take a photo. That's not me. So to work on the story, to throw story out 24/7, I'm not the person to be like, first thing in my mind, let me take a photo of that and upload that my story to show everyone. So I would just forget about it a lot. And then then that even affected the Instagram post, because at a certain point I'm like digging into like old photos, which might have even happened the first week, like me just digging into old photos. Like, I'm just like, I don't take that many photos. I don't feel good about any photo I take recently, like, and so that becomes its own struggle. And then the YouTube video, I got to the point where I was like, I think that was the only place I felt like really comfortable, where I was like, no one's gonna see this, so I'm just gonna do a one take and I'm gonna upload that shit. And did not edit it, did not do anything, which again probably maybe hurts it that I didn't edit, but I felt like that was supposed to be what it was supposed to be, was like, you're doing these one take YouTube videos where you're just talking to the camera, telling everyone about your goals, and we're moving on with it, so it's not so like intense. But again, I think this is more of a me problem than the group problem. I'm just not someone who uploads to Instagram. So me doing the story, doing this, and like being expected to do all this stuff, it's not my natural habit to do that. And I did do it somewhat, but I didn't do enough of it because it's just not me. I don't have these photos. I don't go out and think about like what would be the best to share on the Instagram story today. I am so social media like brain dead on how you actually upload or publish anything. I use social media a lot. I follow a lot of different people. I use Twitter, I use Instagram. I use these apps, but I do not actually post to them. I'm terrified of it. So, yeah. So the struggles were there for real. And then then we added the podcast on. Another great thing, and was really fun to make, but man, is it stressful to actually edit a podcast and get it out every single week. Who would have knew? I mean, honestly, like, getting people together is one thing to record a podcast. Then sitting down to edit it, which, if you're actually editing the podcast, you basically have to listen to the entire podcast. Then you have to mark down all the things that are wrong with the podcast. Then you go through, you edit the whole podcast. Then I re-listen to the whole podcast. And even then, I felt like I was doing kind of a subpar job, where like Treasa is like really on top of it, because she doesn't want any of those like gaps in like talking and things like that, which I gotta say, I'm definitely not doing that for this. You're gonna hear like moments of silence, but I don't really care, because or else this is gonna sound like a train car. I'm already talking like 1,000 words a second. Give me 1 second. I need to pick up my phone so I can look at my notes. So that's going to be pretty awkward, but whatever. We're going to keep going. I'm just really just talking out of my ass at the moment. Wah, 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 wah. All right. So let's see. All right. So I was talking about where the idea came from, kind of the struggles of what walking produce really was, and kind of my struggles, which I mean, the podcast was more of Trace's like child. Like she really did almost everything for the podcast. I did probably two. I think I did two, maybe three of the edits on it. But at a certain point, I hated it too. I didn't enjoy it, and it became the same thing of like why I quit. I just wasn't putting the energy that it deserved. Like I should have been doing 50-50 really with it, but I just didn't. I just couldn't, and I apologize for that. And I wish I wanted. I feel, and not that I didn't want to. It's just like I don't know. I don't know what's going on with me. Going through something at the moment. But anyways, let's move on from whatever I was about to get into. All right. Everyone in the group was great. It's very interesting to work with very different people, which is something that I am trying to figure out. Like working with groups is very interesting. And this group was especially interesting with the dynamic being very, I wouldn't say weird, but it's just like one person's at the center that doesn't really want to be at the center because she wants it to be everything, but it's kind of in a weird spot where like one person doesn't want to be at the center, but clearly is at the center and like either take hold of the center or like, I don't know what it was. It was weird because when you have Treasa, who she's my sister and slash roommate, then you have Mora, who is Treasa's good friend. Then you have Roosevelt, who is her boyfriend. And I don't know Roosevelt, and I somewhat know Mora, but not on any terms other than like an acquaintance. You know, that's just kind of. And then the same thing with Roosevelt is I don't know Roosevelt really. I've met him a few. I think the first time I met him was the second time I met him, we were doing the podcast and we were doing this group thing. So there's that, and then the same thing with Mora. We're kind of on like an acquaintance level. So there's that, and then she doesn't really know Roosevelt either, and it probably was maybe the first or second time she met him. Maybe she met him a few other times before that. I wouldn't know, but it feels like, you know what I mean? There's this weird dynamic, and so I feel like if you were going to make a group that's completely like independent of like leadership, which I feel like is kind of broken ideas, like everyone's going to pitch in equally, there's not going to be a leader. I think it might be kind of bullshit. I think someone has to take charge no matter what, or it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be kind of a hot mess, but you know, that's kind of what it is. And so there's that. So it just was kind of like this weird thing that if you were going to do it, I think you would have to do it a little bit different. Like group dynamics maybe would have helped be a little bit better if it was a little bit differently, whereas only one person bringing all the people in. Yeah, so maybe that would have helped, but overall 6 months is pretty good for most part. I mean, what did I last? I last only 4 months, right? Because we started in February and then I left it at the end of May. Yeah, so 4 months. I was in 4 months. Podcast. I guess the podcast technically went 7 months, which is kind of crazy. Or the thing. I mean, since we're uploading these podcasts, technically this entire experiment lasted 7 months. So that's cool. All right, let's look at this. Yep. I'm gonna keep talking till I can figure out what I want to say. All right, so let's talk about positive things I've learned from. Well, I kind of already talked about the positive things on this thing already. I think it kind of taught me that I need to stop. Well, it's kind of the same thing that everything in my life just keeps reassuring me is like, just put yourself out there. Don't give a fuck. Don't stop giving a fuck about other people. Just do your thing. And yet, I still can't break it. Still give a lot of those fucks. So, you know, I gotta deal with that. But it did kind of like help me, and I think I'm going to possibly figure out a way to start uploading to my Instagram and start posting on Twitter and doing some things, experimenting with those things on my own channels and try to get that going, just because I think I would enjoy it if I could just get past like the idea of it, of the idea of like actually posting and uploading. And I don't need anyone to tell me just do it. I know. It's really just something at this point. There's no kind of like idea, and there's really nothing else. Then I just need to get over myself and do it. No one cares, and I should just do it. Yeah. I feel like I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about already in 20 minutes. And yeah, so I don't really have much else to talk about. I think this project was great. I think it was really interesting. I think it kind of I learned a lot about working with different people. I just learned about podcasting and how much goes into editing a podcast and like everything you need to know about it. Everything you should know I kind of know everything you would find out by doing a podcast. So that was kind of cool. Yeah. So all the do's and don'ts, I feel like I've kind of learned now about like, don't do something last minute, like all these things. Don't do a week to week show, because that's stressful if you're doing it by yourself, especially if you're doing it with other people. Like all these things, I don't know. I learned a lot. I wish I didn't. No, I'm going to refrain. I'm not going to say I wish I didn't quit. I wish I didn't want to quit at the time, but I think it was the best option for me. I don't see it. I would have been annoyed, and it would have been a bummer if I would have stayed on, to be honest. I really just didn't feel up to it. So there's that. Wow. So this has been the Walking Produce Weekend Update. This is Joe. I just shook the entire table that I'm talking on, but yeah. So little update. I guess I'll do a little update on my life, since I'm trying to figure out what I should say, and I feel like maybe that's a good way to end this. So update on me for the last 3 months. Not much, to be honest. Not much. It's just been working and then trying to figure out what I want to do from here, and really just trying to figure that out, and still struggling to figure that out. And so, yeah, there's that. I went back to Florida for like a few days, came back, had quarantine for 2 weeks. That was a nightmare in itself. I really the problem, like the solution is not just like, oh, you don't have to go to work, you can just stay home. Now I'm going to be the most productive person in the world. This is great. No, absolutely not. I hated it. It was a nightmare. I've never felt more depressed and more like just isolating yourself like that is not, it's so bad. It's so bad, especially right now. Like you really can't go out very much. And I mean, you can, especially in New York City, a lot of things are starting to open up. I feel bad. I feel bad outside now. Like I do kind of like, I know like I'm not going to get in a large crowd. I don't want to be around a lot of people. I'm not going to go into like shops, stores. Like if there's a lot of people, I don't really want to be out and about as much as possible. And is that something I should get over? Is that just our reality, that there's just like this walking disease that like you're bound to get at this point because everyone's given up on it? I want to think not. I want to think that we're getting better and it's going to be fine and soon enough. But yeah. So struggling to go outside. Though I am back to work, and I'm positive note, I'm probably going to get a promotion, which is already my self-doubt just speaking right there. But yeah, so I should be getting a promotion, so that would be cool. I'll have more income, and I'm going to get a savings together so whatever I decide to do next year, because I'm looking at June as like, I got to figure out what's next before June, but really by February 2021, I need to know what I'm doing. Am I Am I staying in New York? Am I going somewhere else? Am I gonna try to like figure out how a way to get to like live abroad, which seems impossible at the moment due to the fact that the U.S. is a nightmare. But like, what am I gonna do? I'm going on 24 next year, which I always just think I'm a year older, which is very weird. I'm like, I'm about to be 25. I'm 24. I'm 23 right now, which still feels weird that I'm only 23. But it's probably because I feel like I'm about to turn 30 and I'm really stressed out that my life is nowhere at the age of 23. But 23 turning 30, turning 40. My life is going nowhere. So yeah, so I just need to figure out what I'm doing next. So I'm gonna try to get some kind of like nest egg, so I can do what I need to do to put myself in that position to be able to do whatever I want to do. Is it New York? Is it uh, Idaho? Is it L.A.? Is it somewhere in Europe? Is it who knows? Absolutely not Florida though. I'm sorry, that's not gonna happen. I cannot. But so that's kind of what I'm doing there. And yeah, I'm really hoping only other thing that I can think of is that I'm hoping in the next my goal is next 3 months, which let's see, today it's the 8th, so let's say by November I have a website. And I will let you that website is joeyjoseph.com. And hopefully I have that website going and running. Not let's hope. That's what I'm going to do. Before November, I'm going to have that website going, running, and I'll be uploading something there. I'm working on a podcast with the same name, under a similar name. So that's a thing that should be uploading there in the near future. I also will plan on uploading my writing up there, and whatever else I decide to work on and make and try to put out there will go on that website along with other places. So yeah, I think that's it. Wish everyone luck. Hope Treasa, Roosevelt, and Mora all doing well. Yeah. So I'm actually really excited to listen to all you guys your podcast, since I actually have not listened to anything because I did not want anyone to skew what I was about to say on here. I hope I wasn't too much of a bummer. I really appreciate being asked to do this, and thank you so much, and have a good one, guys. Bye bye. Okay, wrong cue. Wrong one. Nope, definitely not that one. All right. There we go. Adios, guys. See you later. Was that funny?